The Wild Swans. Once upon a time, there lived a king and queen who had 11 sons and one daughter named Alyssa. They lived happily together until one day the queen died and the king remarried a wicked queen. She sent Alyssa to a remote village to live with a poor peasant and turned the 11 brothers into swans.
Fly out into the woods,
said the wicked queen.
Make sure that I would never see you again. If not, I would kill you all.
Poor Alyssa lived a lonely life without her brothers. As she grew into a lovely young woman, she went back to the palace to find her father and brothers. Right after seeing beautiful Alyssa, the wicked queen got jealous. The queen tried to cast spells on Alyssa, but Alyssa was so pure that all the spells had no effect on her. Then the queen put a dark ointment on Alyssa's skin, which made Alyssa very ugly, so that the king didn't recognize her.
"Someone has taken away my daughter,"
the king said.
"This is not her. Away with whomever this is."
Alyssa had to leave the palace. She went into the woods, hoping to find her brothers. She wandered around, eating wild apples and berries. Soon, she met a strange old woman.
Have you seen 11 princes anywhere in the woods?
Alyssa asked.
No, but I once saw 11 swans swimming in the lake at day, and by night they became young men,
replied the old woman. Alyssa hurried to the lake, hoping to find her brothers. There she saw her face ugly in dark ointment. She washed her face and sat down to wait for the swans. As the sun set, Alyssa saw 11 swans flying toward the lake. They landed near where Alyssa was hiding. The sun went down and darkness fell. She saw the swans' feathers fall off, and 11 handsome princes stood in their places. Alyssa cried out, running to her brothers. They were so happy to see each other again.
My dear brothers,
Alyssa exclaimed.
I miss you all so much.
Alyssa, how wonderful to see you.
One of the princes cried happily. They told Alyssa all that had happened to them. They lived in a land across the lake, and it was time for them to go back. They persuaded Alyssa to go with them.
"Come with us. We can make a net to carry you across, and we can live together again,"
one of the princes said to Alyssa. She agreed to go. So the next night, the princes weaved a strong net. Then, in the following morning, Alyssa was carried to a beautiful land with mountains, forests, and palaces.
Oh, wow!
The princes lived in a nice cave. Although Alyssa was now reunited with her brothers, she still wanted to break the spell that had been cast on the princes. One night, Alyssa had a strange dream in which a fairy appeared and told her,
You must weave 11 coats of nettles for your brothers, but you cannot speak Until you finish everything. Otherwise, your brothers will be swans forever.
Alyssa woke up and exclaimed,
Oh yes, I will do that.
Alyssa knew that it would be hard and painful work since the nettles would sting and burn her hands. She started to make coats from the nettle, but couldn't tell the brothers what she was doing. Her hands became blistered and sore.
Out!
One day, a young king came along. He saw Alyssa and fell in love with her at first sight. He said to Alyssa, Come with me, you cannot live here. I will give you velvet and silk to wear. Alyssa couldn't speak, so she could not refuse and say no. So the king put Alyssa on his horse and galloped away to his lovely castle. His servants brought all the nettles and the coats. Soon, Alyssa became the queen and dressed in beautiful clothes every day. But she wanted to finish the coats for her brothers, so she continued to work on them. However, she couldn't explain to the king why she was weaving. In time, the people thought that Alyssa was practicing witchcraft. Since she couldn't speak to defend herself, they persuaded the king that her strange habit of gathering nettles and weaving coats was proof that she was a witch.
It's so strange what she is doing. She must be a witch.
One servant said to the king, but the king didn't believe. Alyssa tried to finish the coats quickly. At last, she finished all but one sleeve for her youngest brother's coat. One night, Alyssa ran out of nettles and was forced to collect more in a nearby church graveyard where a man was watching. He reported the incident to the king. Immediately, Alyssa was brought to trial for witchcraft. She could speak no word in her defense and was sentenced to death by burning at the stake. When she was taken to be burned at the stake, she still weaved the very last coat. As she was brought forward, the 11 swans flew down to her. Hurriedly, she threw each coat over each swan. The swans immediately became princes again, although the youngest still had a swan's wing where there was no sleeve. Alyssa could speak now.
I am innocent!
She exclaimed. Then Alyssa fainted from exhaustion, so her brothers explained for everyone and the king. As they did so, the firewood around Alyssa's stake miraculously takes root and bursts into flowers. The king plucks the topmost flower and placed it in Alyssa's bosom. Suddenly, Alyssa awoke. The king said sorry to Alyssa for misunderstanding her and asked her if she wanted to be the queen again. With all happiness and peace in her soul, Alyssa agreed. Since then, Alyssa lived with the king and her 11 brothers in the castle, happily ever after.